Time for another episode of the re-review, but you try telling the cats that. Hello, welcome to Good Gaming Network. I'm Zoidberg, this is Luna, and this is the re-review. Back in 1991, I was lucky enough to review games for a living for various magazines published by Europress Interactive. In this series, I'll be looking back and re-examining all the games that I covered during this time. Have the years been kind to a game that I once loved, or did I give a low score to a game that I now really like? It's going to be fun finding out. In this episode, I'm going to be turning my attention to Games X magazine and taking a new look at Volfied, developed and published by Empire Software in 1991. Taito Corporation were one of the most prolific and successful arcade developers of the 80s and 90s, releasing some of the greatest coin-op machines of all time, including Space Invaders, Arkanoid, Chase HQ and Operation Wolf. Naturally, this led to a lot of their games being converted to home computers, with decidedly mixed results. Volfied first hit arcades in 1989, and was a sequel/remake to their 1981 hit Kicks. Indeed, the Mega Drive version of this was even renamed Ultimate Kicks in North America. It was designed by Fukio Mitsuji, also known as MTJ, who had previously been a game and character designer on Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands. Like many arcade classics, the idea behind the game is a simple one. You have to maneuver yourself around the screen, wiping out areas of the level in order to box in your enemies. Cover up 3/4 of the screen and you can move on to the next level. In Kicks, these enemies were made up of simple geometric vectors, but for Volfied they were replaced with something more sprite-based, and it gave everything a little bit more character. The Amiga conversion didn't come from one of the expected sources like Ocean or US Gold, instead being made by Empire Software. They were more well known at the time for their development of simulation and strategy games, but they were also the publisher of the home versions of Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, as well as the excellent puzzle game Pipe Mania by the Assembly Line. In the years since, Volfied has been made available on Taito Legends Volume 2 for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, as well as having limited edition releases in Japan and North America on the original PlayStation. You can also play the original arcade version as part of a subscription to Antstream. My review appeared in issue 34 of Games X from December 1991. Lead review and cover star for the issue was Eye of the Beholder 2 from SSI and Westwood Studios. Other Amiga games covered in the issue were Double Dragon 3, Bonanza Brothers and Birds of Prey. 2 of those 3 games will feature in future episodes of the re-review. I scored Volfied with 3.5 X's out of 5, which would have classed it as an average release. Gameplay and lastability were both awarded 12 out of 20, whereas for lastability I awarded that 13 out of 20. While I liked the graphics, I wasn't impressed with the game's sound, stating that the various effects didn't make it sound like a new game at all. The music was something that I also thought was quite repetitive, meaning that it could get annoying quite quickly. Although I enjoyed playing the game, I surmised that it would get frustrating quite quickly due to the high difficulty level. Being able to restart on any of the levels that you'd previously beaten was a very nice touch there. Graphically, it is very colourful and the various enemies are well drawn and animated. All the backgrounds are well laid out and look good. How well does it compare to other arcade conversions on the Amiga? Let's play it again and find out. All the little music and jingles are all pretty accurate to the arcade original. Like all the best arcade games, the idea behind the game is actually a pretty simple one. You just have to paint out areas of the level until the enemy is essentially boxed in. There's a certain element of luck to how you get the high scores on the game, because the power-ups that you get is entirely random, and some of them are a lot more useful than others. The arcade original was what's referred to as a Taito cabinet, where the screen is rotated through 90 degrees so that it's taller than it is wide. So in order to translate this onto the Amiga, the developers actually made a very sensible decision, and they've rotated the play screen. The game lets you start at any levels that you have previously completed, so I can just start at level 2 if I want to. But there's also, in the difficulty options, you've got your regular, easy, normal and hard, but you've also got a trainer. And the trainer allows you to try any levels up to level 8. But it's very clear that the people that programmed this game had actually played the arcade original. There's nothing that's blatantly missing. There was nothing in their catalogue prior to this that would suggest that they could handle a big arcade conversion like this one. Let's not forget that the accuracy and the quality of the arcade conversion would matter not a jot if the game itself wasn't all that great to begin with. Part of what makes the game a little bit frustrating at times is the fact that the movement of the enemies is not predictable because it's so random. And I think I need to take back everything that I said about the game's sound in my original review, because the sound is actually pretty arcade accurate. I don't think I was very fair on them to begin in my original review, but again, that comes down to the fact that I had no knowledge of the arcade original at the time. And whether it's playing this Amiga version or the arcade original, it's definitely a game that I would recommend anyone plays. So I've now reached round 5. Let's see what enemy it's going to throw at me on round 5. Looks like a little robotic ladybird. It's very fast moving. There are a lot of arcade conversions on the Amiga where you're left wondering if the developers have played the game for longer than 5 minutes before making it. This is definitely not one of those. This is probably about as good a conversion of Volfied as it's possible to get, especially as there are a lot of sensible design decisions along the way, like the one to rotate the play area. When I reviewed the game first time around, I was not aware of the arcade original, but I had played Kicks on the BBC Micro of all things. I feel like the score would have been higher had I played the arcade original before the Amiga one. It's classic risk versus reward gameplay, which makes for an addictive challenge, even if the random nature of the power-ups and the enemy movement do make your blood boil at times. This is not a game that you're going to sit and play for hours on end though, and as a slice of arcade action between other games, it's hard to fault. The sound, which I incorrectly criticised in my original review, is actually accurate to the arcade original. It compares pretty favourably with other arcade conversions on the Amiga, and sits in some pretty illustrious company in the Super League. When I published my top 100 games for the A500 Mini earlier in the year, I placed this one at number 79. This is one occasion where I definitely got my score wrong first time around. This is definitely not the average game that I suggested it was, and if I was reviewing it today, I would probably award it 8 or 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching this episode of the re-review. If you've played Volfied, why not tell me your opinions of it and whether you agree with mine? There's a playlist of all the previous episodes in this series available on our channel if you want to catch up on any that you've missed, and there'll be another new episode coming in 2 weeks' time. There'll be a little musical hint of what game I'm going to be playing if you stay tuned right to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, then why not show your support for our channel by subscribing and hitting that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss out on any future videos. If you want to ask me any questions about anything related to gaming, then search for me on Twitter at UKJNZoidberg. Until next time, happy retro gaming, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.